Before wealthy families teach kids to save money, they teach them something more useful: how money behaves. This lesson may happen in a grocery aisle. A child picks something up: cereal with a cartoon on the box, a little toy near the checkout, a snack placed exactly at the height of a person with no income and enormous confidence. In one family, the answer is quick: put that back, we can't afford it. In another, the answer sounds slightly different: put that back, that's not what we're buying today. The item goes back either way. The child may accept this with grace or begin legal proceedings beside the chewing gum. But underneath the same tiny disappointment, two different money lessons have entered the room. In one home, money feels like a wall. In the other, it feels like a decision. That is the quiet difference wealthy families often build before their kids turn 10. They are rarely explaining the stock market over pancakes or holding intense family meetings about compound interest. Most of the time, it is hidden inside ordinary life. The language around spending, the way choices are explained, the things adults treat as normal. Children start forming money habits earlier than most parents realize. In wealthy families, those early lessons often show up in 7 quiet ways. The last one is the one that makes all the others matter, but the first is where the difference usually starts. That first lesson is ownership. Most children learn money as a straight line. Someone works, money comes in. Something gets bought, money leaves. Wealthy families often bend that line into a circle. A parent may point at a restaurant and say, "The person who owns that building gets paid every month." They may see a commercial and say, "We own a tiny piece of that company." They may talk about a business, a rental property, or a tool that earns long after the first purchase. The child is hearing a different kind of vocabulary. Money is not only something to spend, it can be placed into something that sends value back. When that is heard often enough, it changes how a child looks at the world. The store is no longer just where people buy things. Someone owns the shelves. Someone owns the building. Someone owns the brand. Someone gets paid each time another family walks out with a bag. Once ownership is on the table, the second lesson becomes easier to understand. Trade-off. Wealthy parents do not need to say, "opportunity cost." No 7-year-old deserves that phrase before lunch. They ask smaller questions. If you buy this, what are you giving up? Which one matters more? Do you still want this if it means waiting longer for that? Children are supposed to want things. That is their natural habitat. They want the toy, the snack, the glowing shoes, the game credits, the birthday upgrade, and the item placed in the aisle by someone who clearly studied child psychology and chose violence. In these homes, wanting meets choosing. That is different from simply hearing yes or no. The child feels the trade-off while the numbers are still small. $5 today can mean no $10 thing next week. One choice closes another door for a while. Later, that same pattern shows up with bigger numbers: cars, apartments, credit cards, monthly payments dressed up as convenience. The children who practice trade-offs early have already met the feeling on safer ground. The third lesson is where many wealthy families do something most parents find hard to watch. Wealthy families often let children experience small financial regret. A child blows through birthday money in one afternoon, then wants something else 2 days later. The parent does not always rescue the moment. Sometimes the response is calm. "I know, that's the feeling." That sentence is almost boring. It does not shame the child. It does not turn the purchase into a family trial. It simply lets the consequence remain visible. In many homes, disappointment gets softened immediately. Next week's allowance arrives early. The thing is bought anyway. The child's regret disappears before it can teach anything. Inside families that treat money as training, small mistakes are allowed to stay small and memorable. A bad $5 purchase at 8 becomes a reference point. The broken toy, the empty envelope, the moment of wanting again too soon, those become part of the child's private map. The fourth lesson is about the kind of spending children see every day. In many households, spending is the whole story. Money pays for food, rent, fuel, clothes, school items, subscriptions, gifts, deliveries, and the mysterious app charge nobody recognizes, but everyone is apparently too tired to investigate. Wealthier families are more likely to separate what gets consumed from what keeps value. A toy is used up. A meal is enjoyed and gone. A bike may be fun, but it can also carry a child across town. A book can entertain, then leave behind skill or curiosity. A tool can turn into income. A business can keep earning. Taken too far, that becomes a grim little house where every cookie gets judged by its return on investment. The distinction is quieter than that. Some spending creates a moment. Some spending creates an obligation. Some spending creates options later. A child who grows up around that distinction becomes less impressed by the monthly payment version of adulthood, where everything feels affordable because the full cost has been chopped into small pieces. The fifth lesson is asking, the small habit that keeps a child from treating every price like a command, not demanding, not haggling over every sandwich like a tiny market trader, asking. Nobody needs a 7-year-old negotiating juice boxes like a hostage release. Can this be done another way? Is there a better price? What happens if we wait? Can I earn part of it? Could we borrow it, share it, buy it used, or skip it? Children in wealthy families often watch adults question the terms placed in front of them. They see that a price tag is information, not a command from the sky. They hear adults compare, pause, ask, negotiate, and occasionally walk away. Walking away may be the most important part. A child who can walk away from a toy has practiced a skill many adults lose in showrooms, sales, relationships, jobs, and lifestyles they can barely afford. The small refusal in childhood becomes rehearsal for larger refusals later. The sixth lesson is the one that sounds least exciting, which is exactly the point. Investing is boring. In homes where money has always felt unstable, investing can sound dramatic. A risk, a gamble, a chart on television, a lucky break for people who already know the secret door. In wealthier families, investing often sounds like plumbing. It gets set up, it runs quietly, it is checked occasionally. Nobody gathers the family around the sink to celebrate the pipes still working. Children do not need to understand markets before age 10. They do not need to explain index funds at school unless the goal is social exile. They only need to absorb the rhythm. Small amounts become larger with time. Boring money can still be powerful. Growth does not always look exciting while it is happening. That early boredom matters. It protects wealth from becoming fantasy. The child is less likely to grow up waiting for the lottery ticket, the miracle deal, the sudden rescue, or the one dramatic event that finally changes everything. And then comes the seventh lesson, the one that gives all the others a reason to matter. In families that keep wealth, money is usually connected to freedom more than display. The outside world teaches children to connect money with things people can see: cars, clothes, phones, houses, vacations, birthday parties that quietly become public performances with cake. Wealthy families that last tend to talk more about options. The option to move, the option to leave a job, the option to help someone, the option to handle an emergency without turning it into a crisis, the option to wait, choose, refuse, or start over. That changes what the child believes money is for. Less panic, more open doors, fewer decisions made because the next paycheck, lender, boss, or emergency left no room. None of this looks dramatic while it is happening. It looks like a parent pausing before tapping a card. A child hearing why one purchase waits and another one matters. A family talking about who owns the building, not only who shops inside it. A birthday envelope emptied too fast. A small regret left intact. A quiet sentence about saving because choices matter. By 10, a child may not understand wealth. They may not know what a mortgage is, how investing works, or why adults make the same face at school, fees and car repairs, but they already have a feeling about money. Whether it is a wall, a weapon, proof of love, or something that disappears when no one is looking. Whether it belongs to other people, or whether it can be understood, directed, and used without being worshipped. That is the secret wealthy families often pass down early. Not just money itself, a calmer relationship with what money can do. And somewhere between the toy aisle and the checkout, Before anyone sat them down to teach them about money, they were already learning what money was supposed to make possible. If this made you look at one ordinary money moment differently, subscribe to Raise to Spend. We're looking at how kids learn money long before they earn it, and why those lessons may shape the future they can afford.